Everybody to the Chill Networkers group in the building. Um, Greetings, wherever you are. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Because again, we talk about business on this channel. And that's the first thing I want to remind you of before I dive into the topic is that this is a business channel. You know, that's what Top Networkers Group is. Currently, we're not the organization I would like us to be, and that's okay. Everything is about timing. What we set out to do initially was build a network that wasn't tied to any type of MLM company, say, but that really embraces our role as networkers because we are the real value of an MLM. But of course, the problem is there's a bunch of nonsense within the industry of MLM, and that's really why I paused because I have to wait for people to get right, it would seem. Some of the stuff I was talking about is above people's intelligence levels, and that's no offense. That's really the game. That's the narrative. I'm sorry. That's the goal of the people who run society. Is they've dumbed down society to the point where a lot of people can't recognize real game. You can't recognize real information. And it's the same with this COVID thing. This is why we're a year into it and still having challenges with this pandemic here in America because Americans are not as smart as we think we are. And again, I'm not saying that you're all dumb necessarily. It's just that you've been engineered to be more emotional than logical. Again, this impacts business. This impacts business decisions. This is why people follow people that show money or brag to you about what they've done in MLM business. None of that ever matters, right? Again, the logical approach to business like this is understanding that other people's results won't necessarily be yours, right? And that cuts both ways. A person who has failed in MLM, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will fail also. Same people who succeed. Just because somebody else is making 10,000 a month, it doesn't mean you're going to make 10,000 a month. And that's that logical thinking. The emotional, though, the emotional overtakes that sometimes when you're not balancing it out. So again, this is what happens with COVID and what has happened all pandemic long with this conversation. Understand that right now, flu numbers are down. It was just flu season, and there weren't nearly as many people. I think it's something like 90% of flu cases are down. And a lot of folks are saying that what that proves is that the COVID numbers are a lie. In other words, what they're trying to suggest here is that flu season is still flu season. The people who always catch the flu still got the flu, but this time around, it was diagnosed as COVID, when instead, it was really the flu. And this is a new narrative that's going around now, and I want to address it for a moment, because again, this is another mind trick being played on people who are not taking time to sit down and think logically rather than emotionally. Check a video out that I did here on my channel. I'll try to remember to come back and throw it into the description. I'm live and driving around, as you can see. So I'm going to have to come back and edit the description later and actually link you to the video on belief systems, because this really matters. It plays a part in things. How most of us are wired to seek out information that we already agree with. Many of us are not really interested in listening to information that clashes with our belief system. So again, if you go to church every week, if you believe in God and Jesus is his son, that's your narrative. If somebody now comes along and starts talking about Egypt and how the story has been repeated and how it's ancient knowledge and how other religions have similar stories, you might not want to hear all that, even if it's true. And so this is a very powerful reality that we are dealing with, especially when it comes to a topic like COVID-19, for example. This has been controversial, you know. And it's largely because, again, there are a bunch of people who just didn't want to adjust. You were doing what you were doing in life, and all of a sudden the pandemic hits, and you're being told that now you got to change things up. And it's unfortunate, but people really resist change. And that's mostly the driving force of all of it is that you don't want to hear the truth. You don't want to hear that, yeah, you probably need to sit down for a couple of weeks. That's just not what people want to hear. People want to be able to go, go, go and never stop for any reason whatsoever. Right? And that's not what the pandemic is saying to people. The pandemic is telling people, no, we need you to chill. We need you to chill out. I'm trying to park here for a moment. We need you to rest, to take a break. You know, all these things are what y'all don't want to do. So anything that reassures you that you don't have to do these things is what you're ready to run with and say, yeah, that's it right there. Yeah, that's it. 5G. Yeah, there it goes. Hospitals are just getting paid more money to say people have it. Oh man, this thing ain't real. And what many of you did is you went with all of these narratives, and here we are a year later still dealing with this problem. Now you're going with this flu narrative. Oh, see, the flu numbers are down. That means that they're lying about the COVID diagnosis. No. See, this goes back to an earlier issue that I had with many people because they weren't thinking. And this was the lie being spread that the flu was killing more people than COVID. People stopped that one real quick. Over 400,000 people died in 10 months. And it's 3 times more higher than any flu season. And again, that conversation died out quick. But what then started up is people say, oh, nobody's dying from flu no more, though, huh? Again, you have to listen to everything. You have to get the information in you. What have they said about COVID from day one? It's more contagious than the flu. It spreads faster than the flu. So what does that tell you? Think about that. Hold that thought in your head for a moment. If the flu does not spread as fast as COVID, and if people, again, even though only half the nation is cooperating, if people are wearing masks, if people are social distancing, if bars are closed, restaurants are closed, the gathering, the interaction people are having is not as frequent, then a flu, which is not as contagious as COVID, has even fewer opportunities to spread. Fewer, which naturally is going to reduce its transmission. The only reason COVID continues spreading is because it's more contagious and everyone's not cooperating. It's all the people who won't wear masks, who continue going to social gatherings. Y'all are the ones who keep spreading COVID. But flu is down because flu was already not as contagious to begin with. Right? See, when you already believe a thing, you look for information that verifies what you believe. Bless me. I had to sneeze there. You know, I have allergies. So, for people like me, this entire pandemic has been problematic. Because anytime we sneeze or nose run, the anxiety kicks in like, oh man, I hope I didn't go somewhere and catch something, being around somebody, you know. But the reality of the situation is, it's been a very real thing, and hopefully we do find a way to eliminate it as a threat. I would love to get back to society or back to some things that we were doing in society. Some of the gatherings, some of the stuff was real fun. I miss my family, right? Um, that being said, again, there are also changes that need to happen in society. We need a much more uh, progressively more educated society. You know, a lot of what has happened, again, I don't mean to call people stupid, but it's one of those things where they've dumbed us down in order to remain in power over us. Because if you also looked at it again, billionaires increased their wealth during this pandemic. People are struggling and going through it financially on one end of the spectrum, while people who are already doing great are doing even better. So what does that tell you? Again, our society is not set up in any kind of way that benefits us. And we gotta change that. You know, that's one of the downsides of a live. If you sneeze, you gotta spit. You can't just do it. You know, you can't hit pause on the live. So I apologize for that. But we have to change our society. You know, that's really, excuse me again, that's really always been a driving force in why Top Networkers Group was started to begin with. I've always viewed MLM as a challenge to corporate America. And excuse me again, gotta blow my nose off camera here. Again, I apologize. It's been a little windy and rainy out here in California this past week. And it was a sunny day today, and all of a sudden the wind comes out. It starts to get cold here at night. It hadn't even got night yet, but you understand my point there. So for people like us with allergies, that means the pollens are really getting blown around, and so I do apologize there. So, MLM has always been a way to challenge corporate America. Okay, if you think about it, corporate America tells you, come work from this hour to this hour, we'll pay you this amount of money, and you do it because you know it's a guaranteed paycheck. MLM, on the other end, the paycheck's not guaranteed, but if we build it, you can actually create residual income for yourself, which means that you can make an unlimited amount of money and get to a point. Okay, again, not out the gate. You're going to have to work out the gate. You may have to set some hours out the gate, but you can get to a point where eventually the work you do on the front end will benefit you on the back end, where you'll have a residual income coming in to where now you don't have to get up and go to work on somebody else's clock. Now you're free economically. Now you can start investing your money into other things and continuing to diversify and solidify your freedom. And this is precisely what the overseers don't want. Okay? Now again, getting to that point is the entire goal. And there's a lot involved in that. I'm not going to get into all of that here in this video. But again, the point is, imagine if we're freeing thousands of people from having to go into corporate America every single month, every year. I mean, it's going to, like I said, it's going to speed up. First it'll be years, and then eventually we could get to a point where we're freeing people every month and where we're creating more and more spaces for more and more people to earn income in different ways. And as things change and grow and develop, you need people who are also growing, who are developing. Some of the leadership I see in society is a disappointment. And this is sort of the other side of MLM. MLM, it used to, at least, and it needs to get back to this. We used to push and promote personal growth, confronting the educational issues in our society, challenging people to think, to take in other perspectives through reading books. Again, all of these things are tied together. Again, this is a business channel, so even if I'm talking about COVID and flu numbers, it's still all related to a source, if you will, right? Um, it's all of these things still find a way to intersect. That's what I'm trying to get at. You know, um, ways of thought within business also spill out into how we approach everything else. So again, just like we have to think more when it comes to business decisions, we need to think more when it comes to health decisions, when it comes to almost everything that we do. We got to separate the logic from the emotion and understand that emotion is not meant for us to make decisions with all the time, you know. So that being said, thank you for listening. I help you understand why flu numbers are down. It's not because they're lying about COVID. It's because some of the practices that are in place right now to protect us from COVID are also protecting us from the flu. Okay, because the flu doesn't spread nearly as contagiously as COVID does. So what these protections are doing is eliminating any of the opportunities flu normally has to jump from person to person, which it again doesn't do nearly as frequent as does COVID. Right? Again, look into all this stuff. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm just gonna give you the truth. But it's on you to actually go and learn and research and confirm it for yourself, as you should do all the time with any information that's given to you. Again, I want to thank you for watching. If you do want to work together in business, get in touch with me and we'll talk more. Till next time, we'll see you at the very top. Top Networkers Group.